get the name Agnus?
Agnus. It's funny. I was actually telling this story the other day, man. I was actually talking to a guy who works as like he actually owns like a label, and he just asked me about my name, and I was like, it's actually just super simple. It's not anything like my actual name is just Angus, and I just swapped the G and the N around, so it was like Agnes, and I was like Skinner's mum on The Simpsons. Her name's Agnes, and it's like Agnes. But I always had this like thing where I was like, I just felt like a bit of a grandma, like just like I just like drink teas, and I'm just kind of, I definitely have like two sides, but there's like when I'm making music and stuff, I just like to be like very calm and like just relaxed and just like enjoy the slower things. I like having a wine, like having a tea and stuff. So I was like, I felt like Agnes was just like fitting to kind of my vibe. So yeah, I ended up just being like, I feel like Agnes is gonna work for me.
How old were you when you like decided that, or when it come through?
Bro, I reckon I was like, I must have been like 17 or 18. Yeah, because before that I had like all these. My first rap name was like Hawks, which was my last name. It was Hawks, and I was just like, this just sounds like so Aussie bogan or something. Like I was like, well, that was when I was hell young, when I was like 13 or 14, and then I'd like tried different. I don't even remember. That was the only one I really remember, and then I tried some like other ones, and I was trying to find something new, and then I think I just called myself my full name. Just because, like, Kendrick Lamar was just called Kendrick Lamar. I was like, I could just be called, like, Angus Hawkey. And then I was like, nah, that's, like, just, I don't know, it doesn't just roll off the tongue. I was like, I just want to do something, like, more compact. And then, yeah, when I just was like, Angus, swap the G and the N, done. Like, yeah, so.
I know, because every time I look at it, I'm like, Angus or Gus? And then when I was driving up here, I was like, bro, he's literally just swapped the two letters around, right?
It's crazy because I meet people and they like, some people like, I think when people read even Agnes, they just see it as Angus. It's one of those things like when you see it, you don't even register that it's like, in your eyes, it's just almost like, it's like being dyslexic and like words just jumble. It's like you just read it and you just like Angus, like you don't even notice it because it just seems like there's a guy, he looks like his name's Angus and it just like looks like it, but it's actually written Agnes. Or I meet people and they're just like, don't know what my name is and they just call me Agnes, and sometimes that trips me out because I'm just like not used to that. People be like, oh, Agnes, what's up, man? And I'm like, oh, true, that is my artist name. So like
that is cool. But
yeah,
how did you like get into music, bro? When did you start?
Bro, it goes like way back, but like I was in I mean, growing up, my dad was like super into music. Like he was always had like crazy record collection. He always had music playing in the household. He was always pulling records out, like showing us stuff. And just, I don't know, I just realized like when I got into music, looking back, I was like, damn, that really like gave me this, like, I felt like I was like wanted to be a part of it, but I didn't know how, you know what I mean? Like I didn't know, I like did guitar lessons for a bit and didn't really work out with like just a money stitch with fam at the time, and like having the right guitar teacher, like with the guy that we were doing it with just ended up being like this drop kick, like, and it was just a fallout, and I just kind of ended up like hanging it up. That was when I was super young, and I was just like, I just want to play guitar, and didn't really know, and that kind of got put in the background. And then I got to high school and I was in year 7 and we'd play basketball at the courts like every lunchtime, and it was like I went to Southern Cross in East Ballina, and which is actually gone now. I think they turned that into like the mega school. They've like compressed like that and Ballina High into like 2 schools I think now, and that one's like just distance education or something. But yeah, when we were going there, like it was a sick high school. Like there was a lot of like cool people, a lot of like energy and just different stuff happening there. And I was mad into basketball at the time, and I had this friend who was a guy called Jaco Hepper, shouts to him, and he's a New Zealand guy, and me and him played ball together all the time. We got super into it, and he loved rap music and I loved rap music. So like we started like hanging out heaps, and we were kind of just like bonding over like rap. And I'd only really heard like Australian rap at that time because my brother and stuff had introduced me. I wasn't super around, like I knew like big artists like Kanye and like kind of Drake's like So Far Gone mixtape and things were there, but I I didn't know about like, you know, going back on like Jay-Z and like Wu-Tang and like all that stuff. I wasn't there yet. Like I was kind of still just like, I was listening to like Bliss and Esso. Like they were like the first,
Right.
dude, they were the first album that I ever heard, like rap album, I reckon. Like that I was really like, I was so into it, man. I think it was Day of the Dog, that album, and like I was just like infatuated with it. And then yeah, this Jake guy kind of introduced me to like American rap and was like, oh, there's all this other stuff, because in Australia there wasn't heaps of stuff coming out. It was pretty underground still, so like I only knew of a few people. And then he opened my eyes to that, and me and him would play ball with like the older guys at school. So they were in like, these guys were like in year 12 kind of thing down to like year 10. All years would just go there and mash it up and play. And there was a group called the Majestics at our school, and they were like a group of the boys who were in like the senior years, like 11, 12 kind of thing. And I always knew them kind of growing up around Lennox and stuff. Like they were just, you know, at the skate park, like this, that, really lovely guys, man, like all great dudes. And they were putting out music, like, and I didn't even know at the time, but then when I started going to school, people were like, and as I was getting into it, my friend Jake was like, oh, these guys like make music, like, and I was like, what? Like, and then I heard their songs and I was like, this is so crazy. Like, and there was them and Flows as well, who like, he's like massive now in Australia, especially in like the underground scene. Like he was started doing rap battles. He was like getting in there and doing crazy stuff, like really in the scene for like someone. I believe he's also like grew up in Melbourne as well as this area, but like his dad and his brother Riv was friends with my brother through school, so he was doing some crazy shit, like really, like his songs were like making waves in the scene in Australia too. So there was like, I was really lucky, like within the Ballin and Lennox area and Byron as well, that there was like groups starting to like do rap music and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is cool, like I'm interested. And I was kind of like, oh, I want to be a rapper. Like, I reckon I could do this kind of thing, and started like, I didn't really show anyone. I just started writing rhymes and was just trying to like figure it out. And I was super into it. I was like, I'm going to be a rapper. Like, I can do this. And those guys, the same boys, like the Majestics guys, I just like asked them and got advice from them on like, I was like, oh, you know, what should we do in like regards to like recording? Like I had no idea. I didn't know how to record anything, do anything. And they were like, oh, we just use like Audacity, which was like this old ass like free program. And they just showed me like mics and stuff. Like, they just showed me what they use, and it wasn't anything like crazy, but I was just like, cool, like that will work. Like I can record, you know? So I saved up, and I think, I would have been in like year 8, and I bought like microphone mixer, like saved up, and I got this whole like Behringer pack that came with Audacity and stuff. And I had it on like the full big, like, you know, tower computer and shit, like old school steez. And I started like learning how to record and figuring it out, but like it sounded so terrible. And I was just like, we used to have like an iPod, and like me and my friends, when we'd record at home, I couldn't figure out how to make the beat play back to your headphones. So we used to like I'd put the beat, like I'd load the beat onto an iPod, and then we'd put our headphones on, and then we'd hit play on like the iPod and hit record like at the same time. And it'd always be like a bit out of time and shit. It sounded so bad, like looking back, man. But those were like the first days of kind of like really getting into like recording and spending time by myself, because I'd come home from school and stuff and be like, oh, I'm going to record songs, and like really starting to like, when I was on there, I'd see like, you know, EQ and like compressor. I didn't know what they did, but I was just starting to see things and was like, what does this stuff mean? Like, I want to learn more. And unfortunately, the guys that were like, I was looking up to, like, they were amazing doing their thing, but they didn't really have the knowledge on that stuff. They weren't going that deep. Like, they were kind of just like, yeah, we just like do this and that's it. And so after that, we'd been rapping for a bit, and I was kind of like, I want to figure out how to, well, to be honest, we've been trying to put songs out, and we were just getting beats off YouTube. You know what I mean? And people on Triple J Unearthed were like messing with what we were doing. They were like leaving reviews, and then we were submitting songs and emailing them back and forth. And they're like, honestly, guys, like, we can't play this because it's like a big song. Like, and you've just rapped over the YouTube beat, you know, like, we can't play this on radio, sort of thing. So I was like, oh, true. So I asked the boys, like those older guys, I was like, how do I get beats? And they were like, oh, to get beats, you got to pay like a producer, and you buy the beat off them. But they're like, it is quite expensive, but we can like link you with like a few people. And I was like, yeah, all right, cool. Like, let's try it out. So I messaged like there was a few producers like in Australia that they'd like put me in contact with, that guys that made beats, and they were like, yeah, it's like $500 for a beat and stuff. And I was just like, I'm in year 8, man. Like, I don't have $500, bro. Like, no way, kind of thing. Like, I didn't get it. So I was like, I was listening to beats too, and I was like, it's not that hard. Like, I was watching, like, going on YouTube, and I was like, and at the time, but on YouTube, there wasn't mad tutorials, but you could kind of just like watch, like I'd watch like old docos and stuff, like even the Stones Throw documentaries where you'd see like Dilla and like Madlib and Doom and stuff making records, and I was like, man, these guys are just like, you know, they're crazy at what they do, but like I was like, they're just like getting a sample off a record, then they sample some drums, and then they put it in there. I've just got to like figure out how to do that. I was like, I can figure out how to do this in my head. I was like, I know that if I sit with it, I'll be able to understand it. So I bought that thing right there, that MPC. That was like the first thing I got, and it's just like an old sampler, and I started just recording in samples off records, and I started making beats, man. And like they were shit, like they were terrible. They were really bad beats. Like some of the first ones I was doing, like they were just, you know, but I was like, I'm making my own beats, like, and I can rap on my own beats. So it pretty quickly turned into like, after that, all of my friends were just like, oh, like, because I kind of had a group of homies, like my friend Seb and Crispy, and there was like a couple of other dudes that were rolling with me, like when we were younger, that would like come and record and stuff. And they were like, wanted to put music out too, because we were all dropping, but they were like, let's all put like shit on, you know, Unearthed and stuff, like get it uploaded, and we needed beats. So I started making beats for everybody, and then I fell in love with that. Like I just fell so in love with it. I was just doing that so much more. And I don't know, I just felt like I didn't have like a lot to say, and I feel like rapping is one of those things where it's like you really stand on your words, you know what I mean? And I just didn't feel like I didn't feel like I was in a place where I was like confident with what I was saying, or like didn't feel like I was kind of saying what needed to be said. I just felt like I was just saying shit that didn't mean anything. And for that reason, I was kind of like, I don't feel like, I would still write songs here and there, but when I felt like I had to say something, or like when I felt like, oh, I feel like writing about this. And I kind of just fell back from, like, I'd put like a few songs out on YouTube or whatever, like nothing major ever. And made like a few CD things I gave out to like friends at school and stuff like that, but never went like full, I'm a full artist kind of thing. And then, yeah, once I like kind of like got into the beat stuff, I flowed through with that for ages, man, and just kept going. And then that converted into like, when I was finishing up at school, I heard about SAE, which is like an audio university. And this was in 2014. So I like left school and went straight there. And that was where I went and learned about like recording, mixing, mastering, like the whole other side of it. Cause I was really getting deep into that towards the back end, working with my friends. Cause by the end, I was just the guy sitting in the chair. Like everyone would just pull up to my house. I had like my mum and dad, cause my brother had left for uni. So they let me turn his room into like my little studio. So I had a little bedroom like set up in there. I just had the couch at the back and my little desk with my stuff, and everyone would just come through and we'd just chill there, like make music all day. It was great. Like, you know, my parents had like split at that point, so they were out and about. So like the boys would come over and we could just like smoke, chill out. You know, it was just like a safe haven for all the boys who made music to come and just like kick it and just record and do whatever they needed to do. So it was a nice spot. But yeah, I totally just turned into like the guy who was like basically kind of not realizing it at the time, but I was like producing everybody's songs, like being like, nah, like we got to do a verse here, like hook, and starting to learn how to arrange music and do all of this. And I got to a point where the songs were really good, but I was like, they don't sound good. Like the quality of them is just like, you know, when you play something like on like the radio or whatever, or on Spotify, not that Spotify was around then, but you hear something and you're like, oh, this hits. Like, this is like, the drums are clean. Like, and I would like play my songs and I'm like, damn, it just doesn't sound like it's there. Like, it's close, but it's not doing it kind of thing. And then that was when I learned about, like, I talked to a few people and they were like, oh, my homie Pizzo, he was like to me, he's like, you got to get your songs mixed and mastered. And I was like, I was like, what is that? Like, I didn't know. So he told me all about that. And he was like, this is like, because he was going to do a verse for me on a song like way back. And at the time, I had only met him a couple times. And I was like, oh, he's going to do a verse. And he was like, if I do a verse on your song, bro, you got to pay to get it mixed and mastered. Like, you can't just put it out how it is. And I didn't understand what that was, you know. So I was learning all these things. And then that was when I went to uni at SAE and I just started learning. And from there, I basically like kind of after that just started like jumping into like working with other artists and just kind of like developed and yeah, moved down to Sydney. Well, I was in Melbourne first and then Sydney for a bit and then came back up these ways. But over that time, yeah, I just like linked with artists. And when I got down to the cities too, I just felt like I learned so much, like coming out of university and like going into like real studios and working with actual artists who have been doing this stuff for a long time. Like, I just realized I was like, damn, like, especially in rap, I was like, people work fast. Like, people are like, I want my product now. Like, when they go in, it's not like, it's one of those things, man, people wig out. Like, when you're recording, like, sometimes the old school way, and like, we did it at uni, like, kind of when we would record there, you just record, like, raw. Like, you just record with just the microphones, like we are now, like, just coming in, like, but it, like, so there'd be, like, no auto-tune, like, no effects or reverb, like just super dry, just like record it so there's no latency and stuff. And then when I got out there in the industry, I'd like hear people recording and they've like, while they're recording, they've got like the auto tune, like compression, EQ, like that. It sounds like, I'm like, dude, the song sounds better than anything I've ever done. And it's like happening live. I was like, this is insane. And that was when I started realizing I was like, damn, I got to like level up and learn how to do this stuff. So once I went there, I felt like I really like got to, I guess, get insight to like how people were actually moving, you know, like it's one thing to be at uni and like hear people talk about it, but to go and see it, you're like, oh, okay, like this is actually happening like in this way, you know. So yeah, it really like blew my mind, man, just like getting to go out after learning all of it and then going into the real world. It was almost like I had to unlearn it, you know, like going into a different direction. But yeah, it was crazy, man.
That's wild. Your whole come up has been like super organic by the sounds of it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
Very.
from the start of when you first get introduced to Bliss and Esso, whose lyrics are absolutely insane. Like, their lyrics are wild.
Crazy.
I still listen to their stuff now, and it just hits different. You know, back
It does, man.
Like, I grew up like listening to those guys, got introduced to them, Hilltop Hoods, but all the way from then into even like rapping. And what you were explaining was like the feeling of you rapping. There was like, you know, sometimes you could be feeling there, and then other times there was no feeling, so there was no like truth in that rap. So it sounds like to me like you're more feeling through your beats and inspiration through there.
100%. That's like, yeah, I kind of even like forget that sometimes, but when I sit down, it's like I don't even like. I can like in sessions, people will be like, I want something on this vibe. I can do that and be like, oh yeah, but like I love just sitting down and just being like. It's great when artists are even like open to being like, let's just start and see where it goes. Like not being like, oh, like I want this sound and stuff. Like I understand sometimes you like, you know, oh, I want to, you know, try this out or like have this like specific element. I've been hearing this like being incorporated in the song. But just like, I love sitting down and just like, just creating and it just starts to unfold. And before you know it, like when you've made it, you're like, wow, that's like a full representation of how I was feeling. And I didn't even know it, you know, like, and I think that's what I'm chasing rather than like trying to say something. I think I just speak through like the way that I like construct and arrange things and the sounds that I use. Like if I want to be aggressive or fun or bubbly, like I can do that with sounds, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's definitely like how I think how I express myself.
That's so cool, like, because you can feel that now when you're speaking, right? You can feel it. What's your creative like process? Like, is there days when you're coming in, you're like, man, this just isn't clicking, or times where you're coming in and you're like feeling dialed? But how can you stay like consistent with that and like keep showing up?
Yeah, I find like I really don't find it hard to like. I don't have days where I come in and have like rappers will call it writer's block or beat makers will call it like beat block and stuff. And I've never had that like where I come in and I'm like, sure, I might come in and like smash out like a few ideas, but usually what I'll do, like I'll come in and sit down and if I'm by myself, I'll start making beats and like I've got thousands of just like little 30-second ideas that just they just weren't it. You know what I mean? I'll go back, and sometimes I go back to them and I'm like, oh, I got to finish this. This is cool. But like sometimes it's like about just you got to make it to get to the good one. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know, like baking cakes. It's like you might have to bake 10 to make like the best one. And unless you do 10, you're never going to know like, and that's what I say to artists or beat makers when they're talking to me about stuff. I'm like, dude, it's about like I'm not saying quantity over quality. I'm just saying like how do you know what the quality is unless you've done the quantity? Like unless you make 10 beats, how are you going to know that the one that you made was the best one? Like so I'm always kind of like, I feel like that's like the thing that also keeps me inspired is that like, even if I make something and like people are like, this is crazy, I'm like, I don't know, like the next one could be better. Do you know what I mean? It's like this thing where I kind of am like, it's almost like I wouldn't say an endless chase because I'm not like chasing it, but I'm also just like, I'm just so open that I'm like, it could be different or something else could happen. And that's what I love. It's like every time I sit down, I don't know what's going to happen. And I love going into the unknown, like, and just doing anything. Like if someone's like, oh, go crazy, like we can just sample like, you know, like pulling a leaf outside and just turn that into a song, like, and just try something. And it might be terrible, it might just be a waste of time, like, but none of it's a waste of time. Do you know what I mean? Because you do it, and we might have had to do that to, you know, while we're doing that, I might pull up like a drum sound and someone's like, oh, I got an idea, and then we're like, okay, but we wouldn't have pulled that drum sound unless we went and like pulled that leaf off and tried to make a sound. So I feel like that's like my inspiration and my creative process just comes purely from like just sitting down and starting. I feel like the hardest part is just showing up. You know what I mean? That's like, I feel like that's said across so many things, and I totally agree with it. Like some days I wake up and I'm like, oh, and it's not even that I don't want to go, like even just on days like this morning I went for a surf, which was like perfect. I was like, I feel good. But some days I'll be like, oh, I got to go like do this. And I'm like, I'd love to just like go for like, you know, a surf right now and just hang at the beach for a few hours or something today. Like that's probably more so what it is, which I can't argue with that. Some days we just have the, you know, where nature's calling or your body's just like, oh, I just want to chill, you know, like, or just go and relax and do something out in the sun or whatever it may be. I think that's what I find the most difficult sometimes to kind of, if I booked myself in for something, I'll be like, nah, like I said I was going to do this, I got to go do it. And that's what I find difficult. But as soon as I get there and sit down and like I open up the laptop and start, I'm like, I'm in. Like I'm totally in. Whatever it may be, I'm just like, I get locked in and just get excited. So, yeah.
That gives power to you, you know, you're speaking the truth of your word and then you're showing up and doing it, you know. It's like, and that gives you power then.
Yeah, that's it, man.
Like I've been on both sides of that where you give your word and you don't come through, and then it's like all the self-doubt and everything comes through, whereas if you just rocked up.
Totally.
You know, staying consistent with it.
And bro, I find it like, I've been trying to do this like in the last week or two, I've been waking up like kind of late because I was spending like late nights because I've been doing like these real things. I've been posting like a beat every day and doing stuff, and some days I'd do like a full, you know, like I'd do a full session, like, you know, for like 4 or 5 hours, and then I'd finish up, and then I'd have to finish 2 mixes, and then I'd have to do a reel at the end of the day, and I'd be getting home at like 10:30 and be like, fuck, I gotta like edit this reel and stuff. And by the time I do that, make some food, eat, hang out with the dog, play with him, and then like go to bed, it's like 1 a.m. and like I'm trying to get up and be like back here at like 8 or 9. It's like I just burn out and stuff, and I was trying to find that balance, and I've just had to be like much more like dedicated to like, I know it's crazy, man. I feel like I heard this talk, I don't remember who it was. It was actually Rick Rubin was chatting to this guy. He wrote a book on like the numbers situation. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like this whole like wheel of numbers, and there's kind of like different meanings behind everything. But in it, it's not even kind of in regards to like that whole topic, but they were just saying how it's so interesting how like sometimes it's really funny how like if you actually do the things that take a bit more time, like being like, okay, like I understand that like me taking that longer walk with the dog today where I go all the way up around this way is going to take a bit longer, but like just enjoy it and just do it. Like it'll give you more energy for the rest of the day. Or going and like doing the things that fill your cup up, like me going for a surf this morning. It's like, sure, I could have like slept in today and been like, okay, I'm going to get up and then like head over to the studio. But it's like, no, I'm getting up and going to the beach because I know it's like, it'll just put like that, I don't know, that fire in me for the day. It gives me this like, oh yeah, now I'm bouncing. You know what I mean? So I feel like I feel like that stuff, like you're saying, it's like I've been having to like commit to myself to do those things even more. Like I feel like the studio and stuff is like the music thing is like I just naturally, it's become like second nature now. But now I'm learning as I'm getting like, older as well. I feel like as I'm like maturing, I'm kind of like those things are really important. The things that you think aren't that important because they're like, oh, I did that when I was a kid, I got to be serious now. It's like, no, like that's the important stuff. That's the stuff that makes you feel alive and like fills your cup up. You know what I mean? Like when you drop that stuff, I start to like, I'll be in here and I'll be kind of like, I'll still be making ideas and stuff, but I'm just like, oh, I just don't feel like alive. You know what I mean? Like my spirit, like inside my body doesn't feel like it's just like moving and flowing and everything's like just happening. It's like, and just changing something as simply as like getting up and like going for a run or like going for a surf in the morning, it just completely changes that. So yeah, you got to like dedicate to make time for those things. You know what I mean? Like,
it's cool like listening to you explain that, because for me, I'm the opposite. All these things like for nature, like surf, and I spend like, I'll go down the beach every single day. Like it just
yeah,
makes me feel that good, like I don't know why, but I just always end up down at the beach and
bro.
always at the surf and just always like doing things that make me feel good, doing things that are challenging. So for me, the creative process of listening to you saying, I do all this stuff,
Yeah.
and then it's like 10:30, I'm getting home, then I got to edit this, and then I got to have dinner, and then you get in bed at 1.
Yeah.
For me, bro, like in my mind, I'm like, if I was doing creative stuff like that, it's like, no, I got to get to bed. There's a part of me that's like, no, I have to get to bed at this time because I need to wake up here. So I'm working through that now too, where it's like, if you really do love something and you really do want to like go through and create stuff, and sometimes you're going to have to stay up late, and sometimes you're going to have to go through the fire for it, and it's like, it's something that I'm learning, just like, it's really coming to me now, even doing the podcast here. It's like, that's what I find so cool about like speaking to people who are real creative, and are in the creative scene, like what you're doing, right? It's like, what goes through your mind when you're like at that time where it's like, fuck man, I'm going to bed at 1 o'clock and I still got this like to do.
Yeah.
But you just kind of keep showing up and you're doing it.
Yeah. I feel like it's tricky, man. Like I definitely won't say that it's like, I won't say that it's like easy. And I know that for some people that's like the timeline. And I think the other thing I'd say to people is like, don't get it twisted when you see these people who are like, I'm on demon time and like I work 24 hours, because I know people like that, and bro, trust me, they're working the same amount of hours you are. They just go to bed at 4 in the morning and they don't get up till 2 in the arvo. So like you do the math. It's like they're working the same hours. They just live on parallels with you. They're just sleeping all night, which that doesn't work for me. Like I've done it like plenty of times and I've lived that life, and it's like, we're not, like, humans aren't meant to do that. We're meant to get out in the sun in the morning. You're meant to watch the sunrise and you're meant to watch the sunset and go to sleep. Like I'm a full believer of that, and I understand it. But like you're saying, there is times where it's like you've got to, like, you like, damn, I got to get this done. You know what I mean? Like I need to have this finished by today, kind of thing. But I don't know, man. I feel like there's definitely like it's interesting. Like you hear about it as people get like older, like, and certain artists that you might look up to and things like that. That they kind of will say to you, like, just set a time, like, and be like, whatever gets done in that time, that's it. Like, go in and go hard or whatever, but between that time, like, don't stay back, because that's why it's been really good for me having even this studio here. Gives me the time to be like, okay, I'm coming in to, like, when I leave here, I still do sometimes take my laptop and stuff, I'll be at home and be like, ugh. But it gives me, like, when I'm here, I'm like, I'm at the studio, you know what I mean? Like, I'm here to make music. That's what I'm here for, you know what I mean? Like, and just be present here. But when I'm at home, I try to take that hat off, because it's really important. I was talking to a friend about this yesterday. Shout outs to Asher. He's a very busy man, and like he's a guy that's like similar to me, has a lot of different friends in like so many different realms, like all different types of things, which is so great. Like it's the best thing ever, having like different kind of friends who work in all different jobs, and you want to stay connected, but sometimes it's like making sacrifices for yourself. And I feel like sometimes when you say the word selfish, it automatically comes off negative. For me, I hear that, like if you hear the word selfish, you're like probably not a good person or whatever. But it's like, I feel like we need to work on changing that. That like selfish needs to be like seen as like a positive. It can be a positive term too, because sometimes I see my friends and I'm like, bro, no, you need to take some time for yourself. Like you're trying to do the most out here, and it's like it's coming off the wrong way. You need to go sit with yourself, and like that's being selfish. And he'd be like, oh, what do you mean? But it's like that's part of being selfish, is being like, I'm gonna go and like meditate. Like people might see that as selfish, but it's like that actually makes me a better person. Like I'm gonna be way better to be around. I'm gonna be able to think better, give better answers, speak, more correctly with whatever it is in the day and whoever I'm with, if I can just like have that time for myself and kind of like, I just find that's something that's really important. But I feel like, yeah, I really feel like it's a fine line, and I don't think anyone has the answer for when it's like to keep pushing and go, like you were saying, being like, oh, it's this time, should I go to bed and stuff. But I feel like there's the times where you just got to be like, nah, I'm getting this done. But I'm also one of those people who I definitely find like when I'm in a zone and like if I'm doing something, it's almost like to my detriment too. But like I'm a fool. Like, I have to finish things. Like I can't walk away. Like, and it's terrible because sometimes it's like to walk away and come back, you actually come back way fresher and you'll just finish it in 10 minutes. But I'll sit there for 3 hours being like, no, I'm going to finish it. Like I'm so determined to do it. And like sometimes it's better to just walk away for a bit and come back, and you'll probably be like, oh, I just got to do this. Just got to move this thing here. That's it. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's no like straightforward answer, but it's just knowing like when to pick your battles. I feel like just to go like, all right, we're going all in now. I'm going to get this done. And like you said, trying to hold yourself like accountable for your words, you know what I mean? Like if you're like, I said I was going to do this today, like do it, you know what I mean? And you'll feel better for it, like for sure. And then it also helps you in the future with like making sure you don't overpromise or making sure that you don't underdeliver, you know what I mean? Because if you have that day where you woke up and you're like, I feel ruined from yesterday, like that ruined me, like that was too much. You can be like, when someone hits you up again on that day and it's you meant to do like a session, 2 mix and masters and come home, make this real, you got to be like, I can't do one of those things. So accept that and be like, the next time someone hits you up, be like, hey man, sorry, I can't do the session. Or, hey guys, I can't do the mix and master until this day next week. And the thing I'm learning a lot too is like people really respect when you just communicate that with them. You know what I mean? If you don't say anything and you try to do it all and you don't do it, then people are like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you said you were going to do this and you didn't.
100%. The thing that kind of keeps coming up for me now as we're speaking is like creating healthy boundaries for yourself, which can come in many forms, through relationships, through just yourself, through, and then through creating healthy boundaries through timelines that you're staying truthful to yourself and you promise yourself that you're going to get this stuff done as well.
Yeah.
Which is cool, bro. That's awesome insight.
100%.
With like, you told me before that you've been that dude who's been up late at night, working and sleeping in and stuff. How do you feel that the choices you make now, like around, like you say, you're surfing and keeping yourself kind of clear and healthy, getting in the sun? You've been in both types of worlds there. How do you feel that? How do you feel now being out of that and then living how you're living now and doing the things that you're doing helps you in your creative process or helps you just showing up?
Yeah. The difference is like tenfold. Like I don't ever try to be like push it onto people or be like, oh, you should do this. Like everyone, whatever works for people, like do that thing. I understand. But I'm like, for me, I just am so much more alive, happier. I don't know. I feel like I just move with the sun, like period. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, that's how it's meant to be. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to get more into like a better routine with kind of people I look up to and science that I like read into, or people's kind of, advice that I look up to and I like the way they live. And it's that thing of also, people not just being like, oh, here's the info. Like I want it, like the biggest thing that I see from people that I really like accept and understand is like the thing I like see from people that I really think is like important is just leading by example. And like some of these people that I look up to, and they're providing the information and the science for it too to explain why it works. But I see them and I'm like, these guys are happy, healthy, doing well, doing the stuff that I want to be doing. You know what I mean? So it's like that lead by example thing. I think that's something that's so important that people could like, I don't know, I try to do in my life is like, don't just go and like, try to shove shit down people's throats. Like no one wants that. Just if you lead by example and are like living good, are happy, like, and obviously we all have emotional times in life and stuff, but doing like, people see you kind of like thriving and being like, man, this guy looks healthy and happy. Like that makes me want to do, I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? What are you having for breakfast? Because like, what's your routine? I ask that to people all the time. Like when I meet like an old person, even at my unit block at the moment that I live at, there's a lot of old people who live there. And some of them are like in their 80s and 90s and they still come down and they're like at the pool doing laps and stuff. And I'm like, I ask them all the time, I'm like, what's your routine? Like, tell me, what do you do? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I want to know because they seem so happy and I want to understand like the things they do. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's just like, do the things that make you feel good. You know what I mean? Like, have like, like we're talking about the healthy boundaries. Like if you have like a little thing that like makes you feel good, like that might be like having a juice in the morning. You might like love having orange juice in the morning. Like do that. If that's your thing that makes you feel good, like find the things that make you feel good that also don't have like a negative impact on your body and follow them, And for me, I just find like, I find it a lot easier to just like be, I'm trying to think of the right way to say this without coming off wrong.
Crank it.
I feel like I'm trying to think what I was kind of trying to say. It's like I feel like I've lost my train of thought. I've fully lost it. I've fully lost it.
You were speaking about how you were chatting to people who were living at your unit block and just you wanted to get to know about their routine and you wanted to say something that...
Yeah, oh, sorry. I remember what I was going to say. It was when I come in to work here, I sometimes feel like I can feel a bit guilty or like unfulfilled if I haven't maybe done some exercise in the morning or just done like something to kind of like wake up. Like if I just get up and roll in here and I know that I'm going to be getting back really late and I'm not going to have time to do anything, it almost like throws my day, it just throws my mood off knowing that I'm like, oh, I don't get to go for like a run at the beach or go for a surf or, just take the dog for like a nice walk or something outside and just stand in the sun. Like I'm kind of got to be locked in all day. That really throws me off. So for me, like that was what I found really difficult when I was kind of like living the nightlife more side aspect of it where, just like smoking constantly. Like we'd go out and then come back to the studio at like 12 and like lock in like at midnight or 1 and be like, all right, let's lock in and be there till like the sun would come up and stuff. And like, yeah, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. Like it was great memories and like a really good time. But I just remember every time I'd be doing it, I just felt like I was kind of like, oh, I don't feel as inspired as I do in the mornings necessarily, or like sometimes in the day when I'm just like would do something, come sit down, I'd feel like really like, oh, all right, like I feel in the moment. Like when I was doing that, I felt like I was I didn't feel like I was like tired necessarily, like because I was in that state, but I just didn't feel like I was connected even to that. Like there's like an energy with the music that's made in those like kind of those times in the night, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I have a bit more of a like lighter, bubblier energy to me at times. And there's still, I shouldn't say that, there's times where I make like really angry music and like stuff that's like very moody or like atmospheric and stuff, but it just depends on my energy and like where I'm at. And I still have night sessions like sometimes here and there, like with artists. Like I have people who come in here and we'll be here till like really late at night. So it just depends. I just kind of like feel it out and see how I'm feeling about it. And if I don't want to do something, I kind of just will be like, yeah, I'm just not really down for that. I'll just let people know, nah, I'm not that keen. Or if it pops up, sometimes I take it as a sign that I'm like, yeah, maybe that's like what I'm meant to do. I haven't done it in a long time. It might be fun to try it, just to do something a bit different. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Even just, still having a boogie at night time is like still fun, with
exactly.
The boys. So like,
yeah.
Balance is key, I feel. And like back to what you were saying is like, I find just recently, like, got the ice bath back set up, right? So
Yeah.
doing that, like, in the mornings, something where I'm just like, man, it's like 2-3 degrees. It's like, put your fingers in. It's like, bruh, it's nearly coming into winter. I don't really feel like doing this. And
Yeah.
I've said this before, but doing something really challenging, like to start your day off,
Yeah.
where the mind is kind of like, and you're just like, you know what, I'm just going towards it,
Yeah.
jumping in, getting out. That sets your day up. Like doing something super challenging
Yeah.
that you just did not want to do, maybe going for a run.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
You're
Yeah.
saying like if you're laying down, you're like, oh, I'm just waking up to my alarm or whatever, and then I'm just not even thinking about taking care of myself in the morning, coming straight in the studio and getting plugged back in.
Yeah.
It's like I find inspiration comes from those challenging times or things that you're putting yourself through consistently. Like
Yes.
you're going for runs, you're finding stuff out about yourself.
100%.
You're eating good food, you're feeling clean, you're feeling clearer.
Yeah.
Whereas then you go back to eating shit and you're like, fuck, I'm just not feeling it right now. It's
That's
like,
it, man. And it's like you were saying, dude, that process, like, not to jump back into the night, like, that's the same thing. It's like, dude, if you, like, what food shops are open between 12 and, like, 7 in the morning? You're eating McDonald's, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's the other thing, like, that whole, kind of just, it's just a cycle. Like, when you're living on that time, it's like, if you're waking up in the afternoon, it's like, that means you're eating dinner food for breakfast. And, like, there's no breakfast food at 3 in the morning, you know what I mean? It's like you're just in a bad cycle. But to tap into what you were saying too, it's like I really feel like that, man. Like that's the best way to describe what I was trying to say earlier. It's like you feel like you've already won the day before you've even got to the studio. I'm already like, look, if I get there and I don't make anything that great today, I've won the day. Like I did an ice bath. I went for a surf. Like I already won, you know what I mean? Like I've done something. I feel good. It's like coming in here, it gives you more energy and probably a higher chance to even do something great in here. But it also just means that, like, when I walk away, I don't feel, like, guilty for, like, sometimes I'll come in here and it's like, I'll make a lot of things and, like, yeah, it's cool and stuff. But sometimes I'll be like, oh, I just didn't really feel like I've just, like, made something that got me super excited today. You know what I mean? It was like, made some cool ideas. Maybe something will excite me later. But, whereas if I do that in the morning, it's like, regardless of what happens, I come home happier at the end of the day, or I'm not stressing like I need to get home and do something. Like I already am like, I had like, I did my hour exercise this morning. I feel like I've, like achieved, you know what I mean? So yeah, I totally understand what you're saying with that, bro. Like it changes the day when you can like just win the morning, man.
yeah, and it all starts with those like with knowledge as well as what you were saying, like becoming more knowledgeable and listen to people who you kind of look up to and then see what they're kind of doing. And then finding out like what's really truthful in that as well,
Yeah.
I like you, like we've had chats as well. Like Jack Cruz is really a good person to like listen to, and I really love listening to him. And he has a lot of solid points, and a lot of things where I'm like, man, this guy knows so much stuff.
Yeah.
And it seems really true, this stuff that he's saying, because he takes you back to like a lot of stuff where schooling system started, what the government kind of does, and just really has a good, clear knowledge on like what's been happening and then gives you information. The other side of it though is that with that is he can be quite arrogant and quite like angry and stuff like that. So it's like where you kind of got to, what I'm trying to say is like you gain knowledge from people, but you also then put that knowledge into your own kind of ecosystem and then go forward and learn from that, like.
Yeah, that guy's nuts, bro. Like I love his like message and what he's like put like, and like you're saying, it's like this and that. Like I totally hear what you're saying. It's like it's with a grain of salt. Like there's some real gems in there, and it's like he can explain things like where you're like, oh shit, like, well yeah, like no one else could, like no one can. You can't kind of just like ignore what he's saying. You're like, damn, like he's just proven it. But at the same time, he does come off not in the best way all the time, you know what I mean? Which is like, and some of his thoughts and views on certain things or the way he'll just like, kind of attack people. It's like, whoa, okay. Like but yeah, I fully agree with what you're saying, man.
Yeah, that's wild. I wrote down a little quote. I was listening to actually Rick Rubin, one of his podcasts, and he had with a lady called Patricia Sun. And she was like an astrologer.
Yeah.
And this kind of like popped up because I was just on the way up here. And she wrote that creativity is the purpose of being human. doing it with love is how we do it well.
Mm.
And that kind of stuck with me, and it's like, man, this like creative energy that we have and the choices that we get to make each moment and each day of what we're going to put our attention into and what we're going to create from that other building blocks, right? And
Yeah.
how we do that, is it coming from a place of despair or not having enough or self-doubt or something like that, or is it coming from a place of love? And I feel like
Yeah.
with music, bro, you'd be able to pick that frequency up straight away. If like, you know, for instance, now when I'm listening to some rap that I used to listen to back in the day, man, sometimes I can't listen to some songs now just because of like what's coming through and how it's kind of making me feel.
Yeah.
And I
Is
feel
that like it's just some of it's like just kind of like a dark energy, or just like something that's just full on like?
it's just I don't it's like maybe just like the frequency and vibration that I'm feeling through this energy. Like, don't get me
Mm.
wrong, like running up a steep hill listening to something like full blown like gangster's
Yeah.
gonna get me like through, you know, and I enjoy
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, if I'm because I love rap, like I
Yeah,
grew up
for
with
sure.
rap, you know, listening to like 50 back in the day on the school bus, and I used to like go home and get on. I never had Morpheus. I never had LimeWire. I had Morpheus. So I was
True.
downloading like all these mixtapes, and then I'd get the iPod and I'd get up the back, and the boys would be plugging in, and we'd be listening to all this news. I'd go home every
Crazy.
day, just downloading all different mixtapes, hot new hip hop.
Dude, were
all
you the
that
guy that like people would come to their house just to like cop your like download list? Were they like
I was burning CDs left, right, center, but I wouldn't say people were
crazy?
coming around to cop, but
I can imagine, man. Like, I became that dude. Like, I was the same. Like, but even like when YouTube to MP3, I'd like go back and get stuff that wasn't on like Apple and that. Like, just because like you had to buy albums on Apple or the CD, or you had to YouTube to MP3. Those were like your three options basically. And like, yeah, I used to like load up so heavy, or like Dat Piff mixtapes and stuff, and like just I used to plug everyone up. People would give me their iPod and be like, "Can you bring that home?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." I'd take the iPod home and like just load up. Like,
oh, I have done that a couple of times, bro.
yeah.
But listening back to some of that music that I used to listen to back then,
Mm.
and that like I still love, like I love beats. I love heavy beats, and like I feel music and I enjoy it. Listen to some of the lyrics and stuff back then, and like what's kind of coming through. I'm like, man, this is not it. Like this is
Yeah.
actually not it. This is, and the more and more the world's kind of, or we are just like growing, right?
Mm.
The more and more we're growing, I feel like the more and more there's kind of more light coming into like to music, you know, like listening
Yeah.
to like Larry June, bro. Like I don't know him as a dude, but
Yeah.
listening to like his music and the way that it kind of makes me feel, and like just giving you like a tap on the back and being like good
Yeah.
job. It's like that type of stuff resonates more with me now than back in the day when I was kind of listening to that. Yeah, just like
Braggadocious almost, kind of
yeah.
just like, which is, yeah, there's a space for that always. Like, I totally agree. I'm the same. Sometimes I have days where I'm like, I just want to listen to ignorant rap. And then other days I'm like, I want to listen to like something like really beautiful and soulful that's like, or like something with like a positive message in it, or I don't know, something that just has a different vibe to it. And I've been finding myself so often like that, man, because even, you know how Spotify now kind of dictates, like, it'll be like, oh, here's your like daily mix and stuff. And I'm like, man, you guys got me twisted. Like, I'm like, this isn't what I'm trying to listen to. But it's just because it's like from back over the last years, majority of what I've probably listened to was like in the more like rap space that was like, you know, sitting in those realms. So that gets like, you know, shoved into your face, and like, I'm just not as like interested anymore. Like, and it happened a lot for me, man. I got to say, like, when I started doing music, I started finding like when I started working with singers and people who would like even do auto tune, like what people might be like, oh, mumble rap or whatever. And I'm like, no, like I started understanding it, because at the start I was like, no, like there's rap and then there's just like singing, like that's it. And I'm like, no, like when I started using auto tune or seeing what people were doing, and one of the things we do when we get in the studio now, like say I'm with an artist and we start creating something, and I don't know, lay down some chords, some bass drums, and there's just like a loop there, and we're feeling it. And they start, they're like humming in their head, and like I get goosebumps when I hear them do something, and I'm like, all right, oh, cool. Or I won't tell them, and I'll just turn the mic on, gain it up real loud, mute the track on my computer so they can't hear it, and they don't know it's recorded, and just record them doing that. Or they'll be like, you can, a lot of artists who are like on their shit, they'll be like, can you chuck me the mic? And they'll just start mumbling things in, and the part in that to take away is that I got goosebumps when they weren't saying any words. Like, I got the feeling, and they didn't need to say anything. Like, they're obsolete. They don't matter. Like, people can just go like this to your face, and it's like, you're looking at their body, and you're like, you don't mean what you're saying. Like, you're talking shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's facts. Like, people do it all the time, and it's like, that's what I love about music. Sometimes people are like, even with like the J. Cole Kendrick stuff at the moment, Jake, this and that, I'm like, when I listen to music, like, it's actually crazy. I used to be so invested in lyrics, and I just don't even care what people say anymore. I'm just like, what does it feel like? Like, what is the melody? I actually am like listening to like, and I truly feel like that's kind of what resonates on a universal level. Like, why do we listen to like Bad Bunny or like, people that are coming out from all over the world who are rapping in complete different languages, like Piano stuff that is in like 7 different African languages, and we're like vibing to it, and I'm like, you don't know what they're saying, but it's like, that's because that's not what it's about. It's about the energy. You can hear it. It gives you goosebumps when you feel the movement, and it makes you want to dance, or it just makes you feel some sort of way. That is the stuff that is like gold, and that's where I'm at now. So like, when people are like, oh, this guy's the best spitter or whatever, I'm like, yeah, cool, man. Like, I still definitely am like, hear guys rap, and I'm like, whoa, like, that is amazing. But at the same time, like, I can listen to like the best rapper in the world, and if it's like on a beat that I don't really vibe with, and like, this, that, the third, it's like, it doesn't make me feel something. Like, just because they could tell the most deep and meaningful story in the world, but it's like, if it doesn't it doesn't make me feel something because I'm not feeling it, like, it needs to be the whole package for me, like, of just the feeling, like the mood. And that's what this shit is. Like, when you're doing music, it's literally just catching lightning in a bottle. And those are the moments, like when an artist mumbles something, and majority of the time, the first thing that comes out of their mouth is like the best thing. So I'm always like, when they start doing something, they'll be like thinking they're noodling around, and I'm like, just record that. Like, record whatever you just hummed, because that was it. And it will, like, I guarantee 80 to 90% of the time, it will end up being like the chorus, or like the main melody for the verse or something, like, because it's just magic when it happens. So yeah, I'm definitely like you were saying, I feel like I've detached a lot from kind of lyrics, and I'm just soaking in so much more of like what the music feels like. And like, when you're talking about Larry June, it's like, there's his songs, like, his music sounds like sunshine and juices. Like, it does. Like, even if his, like, if he was just like mumbling on those songs, I'd still just be like, it's just got this energy to it. And it's like, he says it through the lyrics too, but he carries that energy onto the track. And like you were saying, it's actually like, it's in the vibrations, in the frequencies that he's delivering through the music, his tone of voice, everything. It's like, that's how he feels, and you can hear it, So yeah, that stuff is like super important to me, man.
Yeah, and yeah, 100%, bro. I love that. That's so cool. How you explaining that? Like,
yeah.
How you feel that, and I feel that too, bro. Like, with samples, like, I listen to like all the Alchemist like albums, and just listen to those old samples and how he puts that all together. Like, I don't even have a clue like really what's happening when you're just sitting in the studio, but it's just like, it sounds cool. Listen to those old samples. I listen to a heap of jazz. I listen to a heap of soul. Like,
bro,
that stuff makes me feel like, it's
I
makes
couldn't
me
agree
feel
more. Yeah, it makes you feel. That's what I mean. And I feel like that's a reason maybe too that, like, Action Bronson was actually, like, I heard him chatting about that, and it really like sparked an idea in me of him speaking about, he was talking about just how like his songs with the samples he uses, and it's the same with Alchemist. And I feel like a lot of rap that people don't realize, it's like the samples being used have got like, they're from like these insanely like amazingly made record, like the energy that was in that record alone, that's then being put into this other thing with this extra, and it's like, it's something entirely like different, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like unfathomable when you hear it. And it's like, that's why I like Action Bronson or like Alchemist, when they're making these songs, it's like, these sound like classics, and it's like, because they are classics. Like, they're sampling like stuff that is like 12-piece bands playing, like the best players in the world from like Morocco or whatever, doing these insane songs, and they're just grabbing bits of it and making a song on top of it. So like, even when musicians, when you see them play live and they do like a tiny desk or whatever it may be, it's like,
They're wild. Yeah.
yeah, they're like, it's basic. Like, people listen to it and they go, "Oh, it's just rap." And it's like, if you break down that sample and played that with a live band, it's like, it's crazy. Like, it's deep. You know what I mean? So it's got like a whole feeling to it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, boy. And you know, working with a couple of local artists and people around this area, you know, like JK, like love his lyrics as well. He's like a dude who I'd, you know, we were speaking about Bliss and Esso earlier. And when I listen to his lyrics, I'm just like, man, this guy's like spitting bars, but he's also like very truthful and has a nice energy like about him, like the way he carries himself and what he speaks about. How's it like working with those guys, and also like playing live shows and stuff, being there around that and doing that?
Yeah, I haven't done a lot of live shows. Like, the last one I would have done was with, I think, Gnarly, and we did Splendor. And then I play with my friend Travie P, quite a lot. Yeah, shouts to Trav. We've done like a bunch of shows as well, and I love that experience, but it's definitely not like my forefront. Like, I'll get up there and DJ for people, but I love getting up there and jumping around. But yeah, I feel like I'm kind of more of a studio rap, but definitely seeing those guys do their thing, man, is like really special. And it's been crazy this year. I set out, like, I feel like with everything that it's important to like have a mission statement, you know, like, this is what I want to kind of like, just setting something out. And whether I wasn't super sure, but I was like, this is something I've always kind of grown up that I've found important and just wanted to be able to kind of contribute to in some way, shape or form, is like First Nation and Indigenous artists. And that was something I wrote down probably about a year or two ago now. I wrote that down as like, that was something like, if in any way, shape or form I can give back to, you know, these guys, how can I help these people, you know, put their voice on the main stage, like, and, you know, allow them to make music that's like, needs to be heard, like their voice needs to be heard, you know what I mean? And I was like, that I thought, I was like, that's something I can do, because I can make the backing tracks, record these guys and get the songs done in like whatever form that is. I can help, you know what I mean? So that was like something I really set out in my mission statement. And it was crazy because over the last couple of years, I've been super lucky to work with JK, who's like a great friend, such an amazing dude. Him and Jay Orient, the stuff they do, I'm just grateful to even get to put my fingers on it in any way, shape or form. Like, their work is amazing and it's very deep. And then there's been like Gnarly and of course ECB, who are JK's family as well, like his cousins, brothers, and
This
like,
must've been cool.
yeah, friends of theirs. And to be honest, like, regardless of whatever their relation are, they're a family, you know what I mean? Like, they're all of them, like, when they come together, like, they are, it's just something so special about their energy when those guys are all together. They're like an unstoppable force, you know what I mean? Like, especially when they're together. It's just like one of those, it's one of the first times that I've experienced really like a group of people that are like so naturally, like, just, I don't know, connected to one another. It's insane how like they can just, it's like they can read each other's minds, you know what I mean? Like, it's just insane. They're really tapped in and they just are so good at helping each other out. Like, if someone's in here doing something, like, especially Chigs is amazing. He'll come in and just, he can, you know, they're really good at throwing each other ideas to just like break if someone's in like a negative loop or isn't sure about something. They're really good at just being like, what about this? You know, or just making it, like, taking the weight, like, make it less serious. Someone, Chigs or Nate, will be like, crack a joke, and then, you know, or we'll be like laughing about something, and then we'll be like, what were we even doing? And then we'll be like, oh, we were tripping over this like line that's like, it sounds great, like, and then we'll be like, oh, and then we'll be like, oh, maybe we should actually try this. And, you know, just sometimes like breaking the cycle. They're really good at helping each other out in that way. And artists like JK, man, he's been like, just, yeah, he's taught me a lot, man. Like, he's a really deep thinker, and he has a lot to say. Like, before I was saying when I wanted to rap, and I was like, I don't have anything to say. Like, that he knows what to talk about, you know what I mean? And I think that's the thing too. I feel like I know people always like, they want to hear him like on his early stuff when he was kind of you know, would flex and do the braggadocious, and it was so fire. Like, the thing with like those guys, all of them too, is, man, that I always explain to people, like, I hate when people try to play like or the Indigenous card, like, put them on this because, like, we need to fill a slot for someone. Like, I'm like, no, like, these guys are the best rappers in Australia, bro. Like, period. I don't, like, care, like, what color your skin, anything, nothing. Like, these guys are the best spitters, bro. Like, JK, out-rap anyone. Like, he's insane, bro. Like, when you see that guy rap in person, bro, like, and how quick he can do stuff. Like, we did we did a writing camp for the Tweed Council. And they got some kids from schools to come, and we did like a writing camp with them. And just JK helping the kids write their verses and getting to sit with him and watch. Because I'm like, I've written bars, you know what I mean? I understand it. Like, this guy, the way he can, like, so effortlessly and quickly just chop in and out of flow and move things around, and how his, like, I was just blown away. Plus, when we're like, because for their stuff, I was like helping mix, and like we'd maybe record a few extra things in, add an instrument here or then. Like, they'd usually have most of the song done by the time that I'd kind of like touch on it and like help them with mixing. JK's ear for swing with drums, with, I mean, like, just placement of any instrument, note, anything I'm doing mix-wise. He's the type of guy that I won't realize I turned a plug-in off, and he'll go, something's, you know, like, that. He'll be like, no. And I'll be like, in my head, I'm like, oh, he's probably just tripping. Like, maybe he just wants to change something. And then I'll open it, and yeah, like, there will be like an EQ that was dipping out like one little thing here, there on like keys. And he'll be like, yeah, turn that back on. Like, we did that, you got to turn that back on. And I'll be like, how the fuck did you hear that? I can't even hear the keys in the mix, you know what I mean? We're focused on this other section, but he's just like, constantly when we're mixing and stuff, he's analyzing each individual thing and hearing it as a whole. And like, he's so good at just, I don't know, like, he's an amazing person to have when you're mixing records, and for just hearing the timing of things as well. Like, he'll like jump over and be like, nudge this, like, and dude, I'm talking like tiniest bits, and when you do it, it's just like just golden moments. It's just like, how did I not, you know, things that you just get so caught up in the big picture sometimes, which is like, don't get me wrong, he sees the big picture, but he knows in the way he sees the big picture, he's like, I'm thinking, oh, we got to do all this sometimes, and he can go like, and just do that one little thing, and then the whole picture changes. So it's like, he is like, works really efficiently in the way that he will just make small changes to change the big picture, whereas sometimes people will be like, you know, paint over it 4 times, rip it down, do all these things. It's like, he can, you know, kind of just say something and go, no, it's just this. Or like, I just need to re-record this one line. And he'll just know kind of where things are. And that's like amazing. So he's definitely like developed an amazing ear. And I'd give a lot of props to Jay Orient for helping him develop that ear too. Because Jay Orient is like, that guy is the swing master, man, when it comes to drums. And like, that guy will make a whole beat and nothing's on the grid, and you will be knocking, you'll just be boom, boom on your head for the whole song, and nothing is hitting on anything on the grid. Like, he can just, his timing is impeccable, the way he chops things. Like, it's just like, he's one of the best in the world, man. Like, he just doesn't get regarded for that, and he's so humble and doing his thing. But like, people who know, you know what I mean? And like, he's really that guy. He's really that dude, man, like, who has that ear for that stuff. And getting to be around those guys, I've learned so much, because Jay and I have been working together for years now. Like, we've hung out and always had a really good chemistry and love making music together and just hanging. Like, he's such an amazing guy. So getting to be around, especially those two guys, they're so amazing with like their specific sound and knowing what they need to do. And then artists like, man, ECB, like those boys, like Chigs and Nate, who have kind of, you know, been representing ECB, I guess, at the highest level sort of thing, and putting the most music out probably as individuals too. Like, they're his brothers, and they have the same thing, man. It's insane. Like, they like, Chigs was making beats I didn't even know, like, way back. And when we're in here, man, making songs, like, these guys are the type of rappers who are like, when I'm making the beat, they're like, when I'm trying, they're like, no, like, put me on, you know? And I'm like, all right, let's go. Because they nail it, man. Like, Nate, Chig's like, they'll just play, like, I'll loop them up over, like, I'll put some chords down. I'll be trying to find, like, a lead synth, like, little melody. And they'll just jump on there. And I haven't even told them what key it's in. They go, and they just go, and I'm just like, what? Like, where did that come from? But they're just tapped in, man. Like, they hear. They're very... I feel like it's part of like their culture. It's part of them, and they're very connected to like music, and they're amazing at analyzing, man. Like, and they just hear stuff differently. You know what I mean? They can hear what things can be, or like the way that, I think it's not even like, you know, it's just also any individual, the way that people hear things differently. I love that. Like the way that I go to do it is like kind of in my head. It's just how I'd always do it. And that's my style, which is cool. But it's like, as a producer and like a beat maker or an artist, it's important to know like, nah, it would be cool to have someone else do something on this. Don't just make this all about you. Like, let them do their thing. And plus, whether it's JK, Gnarly, or the ECB boys, it's their song, man. Like, you know what I mean? I'm here to help them with it, but like, it's their name. They're putting out the song. They're going to be the ones who are going to listen back and be like, I like what I did here. So like, if they do a synth line and you're not sure about it, and they're like to you, that's it, it's it, bro. Don't you mess around and be like, no. Because your ego gets in the way. Like, let the people who are making the music with you know when to like leave the ego at the door. And even if you don't understand it at the time, you will understand it. You just got to leave. You just got to sit with it for some time. And trust me, you'll hear it, because like, you'll play it to some people, and it's happened to me before. I'll be like, before I even play it, I'm like, you watch, they'll say this bit wasn't that great or something. I play it and they go, man, that synth was so good. And I'll go, fuck. You know what I mean? The boys did that. And that's what I've learnt now, where I just like, if I'm not sure, I just leave it now. And like within a few days when I play it in my car, I'll be like, oh man, they knew what was going on. I just couldn't hear it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's like a learning curve. That's beautiful. I'm so happy that like now I can just like take a back seat, let them do their thing. Like, it's insane. But yeah, it's been really great, like working with those guys. And Gnarly, we've been working on his album at the moment, and he does a lot of work out on country, like in remote areas. In like, he's doing amazing work out there. He works with a company called Desert P Media, and they're out there doing they do writing workshops with the kids. So they're helping them make songs and like doing a film clip with them, and just showing them how to kind of like make songs, like that it is possible too, because there's these amazingly talented kids all over the country, man, that are doing, you know, that just haven't got the access to like certain facilities and things like that to do this stuff. So they're setting them up with laptops and speakers and an interface so that the kids can make songs. And people like myself and Nerve and there's a few other producers who've been supplying the boys with beats. So like the kids have like a stack of beats there to pick from. So like if they ever want to make songs, there's like beats there for them to use and stuff. So he's out there doing like amazing work, man, really amazing work. And like the energy he comes in here like with from, you know, that work is, it's special, because it's just not, I don't know, it's even like hard to explain, but like you can tell he's just like someone like Gnarly's like seen a lot and he's done a lot, and he's wants to kind of, you know, explain that, you know what I mean? And just share his view in a way that also is like understandable. Like I find like Gnarly is so amazing at making his situation and his perspective. He makes it super easy for people on the other side of the spectrum to view. Whoever you are, if you don't understand it, or if you're some old white racist dude and you heard that, I feel like you could there's something to it where he just makes you understand what's happening. Like he can give you insight to his life. And Gnarly also is like just amazing at like telling his story, and also just being so honest. Like he doesn't hide behind like talking about something that's like over here or there. He puts it totally on himself. Like he tells you exactly what is happening inside, which a lot of artists kind of will beat around the bush on, which I understand why. And it's like sometimes there's important things, but that's why people, I think, attract to Gnarly so heavily, is because he knows how to just completely like put himself out there. Like he doesn't need any, like, you know, he doesn't need to hide behind anything. He's just like this is me. Like there's nothing, like you listen to music, you meet him, it's the same guy, man. He's just being, bro. Like he's just like, from inside that brain of his to like the microphone, there's no filter. It's just it. And that's what happens a lot of the time when I'm in here with artists. That's the problem. And that's what I get worried about. Is Gnarly's amazing at it, but a lot of artists, between that moment of putting the pen to the paper, just in that time where you're having the thought and you're putting it down, you can lose it just in that motion there. Sometimes it's like you just need to say it. Like that's why I love when artists will freestyle, because like, sure, there's bits we might not use, but when they're freestyling, it's like there's no filter. If there was a thought that they wanted to say, or something that they might not have even know they wanted to say, it'll come out, you know. But Gnarly's one of those guys who it's like he freestyles through writing. Like whatever he writes is like it's a just stream of consciousness. Like it's just so pure and like so himself, which like being around those guys, man, I've honestly just like, I've just learnt like a lot, you know what I mean? Like I come home every day and I'm just like, especially about their culture and like their lifestyle and their understandings, their perspectives and stuff. I just feel like I'm learning every day, and like I still don't know shit, but it's like I'm just grateful to be around those guys and for them to share, you know, little gems with me here and there. Like they really do like let me in on things which I'm grateful to be like a part of, you know what I mean? And I'm just grateful to actually for them to like trust me with what they're doing, because like they could be working with anybody, you know what I mean, in the world. And I just feel grateful that they like coming here and that they feel comfortable to like speak about things they're speaking about in front of me and stuff. Like I want this room to just be like a neutral place where everyone can come in and just, you know, just like it's blank canvas, like this is for you. If I can assist you in any way, let me know. But like, this is all you, man. Like whatever you want to do, whatever you're feeling. So yeah, I'm just grateful to be able to kind of like just sit next to them, and while they're just rapping into the microphone, and I just sit there going, holy shit, this is crazy. Never gets old.
Credit to you, bro. Like you're bringing all these beautiful people into the studio, and you're kind of like, you're doing it as well, man. So it's like, credit to you, and like, man, you blow my mind. Just even hearing like how passionate you are, speak about what you're doing on the daily, and like, just the work that goes into it, bro, is like really inspiring. And it's cool to know you and call you a mate, bro. So it's been a pleasure. We're running up to like an hour and a bit, man. I could sit down and talk to you all day.
Yeah, bro. Nah, sure we can do a part to it at another point, man.
Sure, bro. But yeah, man, respect and much love to you, brother. I appreciate coming on here, and
big love, man. Thanks for having me.
Always, bros.
Big love. All right, peace.
Peace.